I also would like to welcome you all. It's wonderful to spend this time with you talking about the teachings of self-realization and Paramhansa Yogananda. I'll read to you from Whispers from Eternity. Master mariner, come, take charge of my boat. O Father, my little raft of meditation is floating toward thy shore. Though buffeted by furious storms of distraction and heaving waves on the sea of my mind rise and fall tumultuously, yet I am heading steadfastly toward thy shore. O Master mariner, come, take charge of my boat. So I was thinking about this topic, and just several thoughts came to mind. A while ago, I was talking with a friend, and we've been friends for a long time, and I was remembering that talking about light and darkness and all of that, I was in the monastery for a number of years at Ayodhya. This was in the mid to late 70s. And we got to spend a lot of time with Swami Kriyananda during those years. And we would, those of us who were close and really wanted to grow spiritually, and it was most of the people there, we'd have these little ways because we knew each other very well. We lived together, but in separate places. We meditated together, we worked together, we played together, we did everything together. And so we knew about each other's families and all of that. So it was in other words, we were very comfortable with each other. And so dealing with light and darkness and just how the ego comes in, somebody of us would say, well, I think things should be this way. And then there would be the phrase, and I'm often wrong. I may be wrong, I often am. Something like that would follow that. Because we were really wanting to acknowledge the teachings we were receiving. And so I think things, obviously, strong ego there. I think things should be this way. And then you say, oh, but, I'm often wrong and I often am, I'm not always right. And we just say those little things. It didn't go on for a long time, but it did break up the idea of just ego out there, because we're always in the war of Kurukshetra. It's always happening from birth until death. It's happening every day. Sometimes it's more raging and sometimes it's more mild, but it's still there because of the ego. And so, and then the other thing I was remembering, and these are very just personal things that we did, which were fun and very helpful actually. And the other one was, oh, you did something wrong? Be sure not to tell anybody about it. Yeah, because that's the very thing that darkness wants you to do. Don't tell anybody, because if you do, they'll think badly of you, that kind of thing. And so we'd say, did you do something? Don't tell anybody, like that. And so these kinds of things you can do with friends, and I would suggest maybe trying it, just for a little bit, just to break open that constant egoic presence in our lives that is very difficult to get rid of unless you tap it, unless you crack it. And it's why with Swami Kriyananda, there'd be things that we'd be talking about maybe in a smaller group, or somebody would have talked about with him personally, and he'd just say it to the group. And it was like, whoa, did you really just say that? And so it's just things like that. He was really trying to help us. Let's just bring in the light. Let's open up and have light in here, and not be hiding behind what we think will be good or bad for us, or in other words, smallness. if you live in light, you're not afraid of anything. And so, you know, it's more easy. The one other kind of more personal thing that we did, because we had to entertain ourselves. Not everybody had a car. We weren't always running off to town. And so we'd have different ways of doing that. And one of the things we did was we would read Winnie the Pooh. We'd read Pooh stories. But not only would we read them, we'd think, oh, so-and-so, Seva, you're Pooh. And Asha, you're Piglet. And Arati, well, you carry an umbrella. You must be Christopher Robin. I was Owl. But Owl, see, Owl is very savvy. You know, he's very knowledgeable. And he lives in the woolery, W-O-L, you know. So right away we've got, you know, this funny kind of thing going. But it really, again, helped to just highlight, don't take yourself so seriously. Don't let the ego bind you and get in there and keep you small. Let's lighten up. And Swami Kriyananda was very good at doing that. He really would help us in that way as a spiritual friend. But sometimes it was like, whoa, did you say that to everybody here? That was something I said kind of personally. But again, it wasn't done with malice. It wasn't done with to embarrass you. It was done to break open the egoic identifications that we have. And the other thing that I was thinking about the reading is that the idea where he mentions the holding up to the light whatever darkness. In other words, you make a big mistake, or you have something that really bothers you, and you act in ways that bother you. It takes will, and it takes constant effort to hold that up long enough to the light, meaning long enough at one time, long enough over a period of time, so that it starts to dissipate. And if you have a close friend, you might share it with them as well. I'm really working on this, so, you know, don't let me get away with things like that. But just to know that these things, they're very, very important. And they really, once we come to the place spiritually where we realize, and this is, we realize it and then we realize it again and again over time, but where we realize that the world, there's nothing wrong with the world. The world is just fine, and it's our perception of that, and that we want to make the, well, we have likes and dislikes, but that we want the world or other people to be different to accommodate our likes and dislikes. And so, but that once we realize we're talking about working on ourselves, that's the problem that we're facing, we're all facing, then that's a real turning point in, you're actually able then to move forward spiritually and to have spiritual success. Without that, it's always, you're always looking outside, and this is what we see in the world. You know, some big catastrophe happens and everybody looks for who to blame right away, you know, whether it's, doesn't matter, you know, politics or socially or whatever, who's to blame? So let's not look inside about what caused this, but let's look about who we're going to blame and put the blame on people. So anyway, it's a different, once you come onto the path, it's a different world. And people are surprised by it. It takes a little time to get used to it because we don't do that here. We don't blame people. We just move forward and say, well, let's see, what's the solution? You know, oh, this happened, that was a problem. Well, what can we do about it? Let's keep the energy moving. And so anyway, it's just a very different way of being in life. We were watching something the other night, and I was noticing the characters were being very careful about what they said to each other. And I thought, we don't do that here. You know, it's you do that when you're when you're not sure of who you're talking to, and you're trying to protect your own ego. And so anyway, it was just, I thought, oh wow, you know, we don't live like that here. So anyway, those were a couple of things. And then I was also remembering, well, that one phrase in the reading. And it's just one sentence, but it jumped out at me years ago. Nayaswami Uma in Assisi used it, and I said, where did you get that from? And she said, oh, it's in one of the Ray's readings. You've probably read it a lot of times, but it is about faith, because part of the topic today is about faith. Our faith is the attractive power of our underlying state of consciousness. Now, I was so intrigued by it, and I thought, I think I kind of know what it means, but I just focused on different parts of it because I thought our faith is the attractive power, but of our underlying state of consciousness. And I thought, but our underlying, in other words, where are you at generally every day? You know, are you positive? Are you negative? Are you, where are you at? And what is your underlying state of consciousness? And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because we're automatically building faith just by what we do spiritually every day. Because that's what we're doing. We're building up our state of consciousness more and more into the light. That's what we do. When you meditate, when you serve, when you have satsang with people who are uplifting to you, that's what builds that. And so it's very important that we keep an eye on our underlying state of consciousness. In other words, you walk into a situation, something terrible happens, what do? What's your response? It's like, oh no, or is it, wow, well, that's a big boo-boo, let's see what we can do, In other words, up toward the light, up toward solutions, superconscious living, or is it immediately, withdrawing, But just keep an eye on it, because that is, our faith is the attractive power of our underlying state of consciousness. So that underlying state of consciousness, that's what we attract to us all the time. It's always coming. And people will say, well, yeah, I kind of had a bad week, and this person did this and this person did that, and it's all them. But it's our underlying state of consciousness that is magnetic. We are beings of energy and magnetism, and we draw to us where we're at with that. We're always putting that out. It's who we are. You walk down the street, it's a message to people. As Swami would say about the Buddha, he said, the Buddha gave his first sermon before he even said one word, because it was who he was. He was enlightened, and his former disciples who had left him because they weren't sure what he was up to and whether it was really valid spiritually or not, but when they saw him, they knew, yeah, he was enlightened. And that was the vibration he was putting out. And so be aware that for each one of us, that's what we're doing all the time. How we walk, how we talk, the tone of our voice, everything is a message. And it's a message, it's a good feedback, to ourselves. Okay, well, maybe I'm not putting out enough energy to attract more light. But it's also, I think, something for us to keep in mind, because we are channels of that light. And, you walk out, you go to the tulips and meet people, they see who you are, they feel who you are. At the expanding light, guests come, go to town, checking out at the grocery station. Now when I go to SPD, because the people that cashier there have been there, a lot of them, for a long, long time. And so, but I make sure to really engage in an uplifting way with them. I wasn't doing that for a while, and I thought, no, these are good, you know. And so just to express that in your being, but also to smile, to say hi, to uplift people. It's what we can do in this time of, whoa, up and down and in and out and everything around us changing, but that doesn't have to affect us. And we don't want to let it affect us because we know why we're here. You know, I've been reading a little bit about some of the people that are talking about this time and what will happen. They all have theories about it. And basically, the big theory is, we're going down, you know. I mean, everything, globalization, America's withdrawing from it, and so all those connections, and this is all on the material plane, by the way, industry, products, you know, everything. It's all going to fall apart, and that'll destroy the economy, and everything will go down. And I thought, you know, and I've read several things like that, and I think, but you guys don't know about the yugas. We're not going down, you know, we're on our way up. Yeah, it's just that right now, things do have to fall apart. If they never crack open, nothing new can come in. And we're in a time of Kali Yuga, 2,400 years down and up, and very fixed and very identified. What you see around you today, mainly, is reflection of that, is what people have been living through. But now we're about to enter into a different age, Dwapara Yuga, age of energy. And so people are saying, oh, you know, well, the oil's going to run out, and then we have electricity and, you know, all the old forms of energy. Yes, they will go away. Absolutely they will, because we're going into something new, a little bit higher spiritually. It's not perfect by any means, but it's a time when new ways of doing things will come in. And I think the younger people are the ones, maybe they're only 5 right now, who knows, you know, but they will be attuned more to that fluidity and won't have lived very long in a material age. And so it's a very interesting time, but don't buy into what people are saying, because they really don't have the full picture. We've got Master, we've got Swami, we have the full picture. We've got the yugas, we know we're going now into a new time, but it's going up, we're not moving down. Now, when Kali Yuga came in and Dwapara Yuga was moving down, it was terrible. I talked with Vyasa a while ago, and he turned me into the book, I think it's called 1177 BC, when civilization died, something like that. Anyway, and it was. There was a whole Mediterranean civilization, Dwapara Yuga energy, and all of that went away. Can you imagine living in a time like that when it really was going down? But we don't have that. And so be careful with your energy. Remember, you are a child of light. Anybody that knows about the path of self-realization and Paramhansa Yogananda is going there. You know, it's happening. So keep that moving, keep that going, and don't get affected by, really protect your aura, your energy from a lot of the chaos and the negativity which is happening right now. So because we have a role to play, and there aren't a huge amount of us who are very aware and doing this, but it's a time for us to be there for people. And even if you never talk to anybody, but you're living this life, that it's happening. And you're very, very important, each one of us, here, online, everyone throughout the world. You know, the other thing that I wanted to just mention, because somebody asked me an interesting question the other day, and it was, how long did it take for all the hippies that came here in the early years to transition into being on this path and being able to be teachers and, you know, what you see today? And I said, well, I didn't know anybody like that when I came here. I mean, I didn't know anybody that was a hippie. They weren't, and I said, the people that I knew that either were already here or came here at the same time I did, 1972, they came here for God. They were very clear about that. And those were the people that were drawing on Swami. Not everybody did, but those people, and there are a number of them still right here, but we came for God. That was absolutely the driving energy. And it's why Ananda was able to happen, because it drew the people that Swami Kriyananda, he was putting out that vibration, that consciousness of Master, and that's what attracted people. Again, not everybody, and people, they were in a lot of different places when they came. There were a lot of very nice people that came and stayed for a while and then moved on. And that also was the other thing that, and again, I'm addressing that because it was such a strange question to me. I just thought, well, I didn't grow up like that. I mean, with Ananda, I never experienced that. It was always about the path and Swami and Master and devotion and Kriya Yoga and all of that, everything. And so there's that. And also, too, I would highly recommend to everyone to go back and reread the path and especially the section about Master, about Paramhansa Yogananda. I was rereading it yesterday, last couple of days, clear through, and it's just so intimate. Swami was able to express in that book what it was actually like to be with Yogananda. And I've never, when I first read it, I thought, I'm just getting to know Master now, first time, because we knew Master through Swami and his vibration, but when he wrote about what it was like to actually be with him, it was incredible. Yeah, so take the time, because I thought, you know, there's three elements. There's service, satsang, and sadhana. And those three things are that's what makes this community possible. And the online community for you guys online. They have an online community even, and people, those three, service, satsang, and sadhana, that's what makes it happen here. It's a world brotherhood community. And this one being rural, it's the first world brotherhood community. And people feel that when they come, but they wouldn't feel it if it weren't all of you here. You know, people wouldn't feel it if weren't people living here and expressing that. And so it's just very, very important to keep alive your role. And that was the other thing that Swami Kriyananda said to us. He said, never forget why you came on this path. Never forget that time. Never forget your motivation, what drew you. Don't forget it, because that was an important time in your life, extremely important. And just that longing for truth and for really being a part of a spiritual family, finding your spiritual family again. So anyway, those are a few things, and I'll just close with the one other thing. It's a little difficult sometimes to really get across, express completely what it was like to live with Swami Kriyananda. For me, he was absolutely a channel for Yogananda. I mean, when I came, I thought, feels like the autobiography of a yogi here to me, and the people. But also the freedom that there was for people to grow spiritually and to make mistakes and learn their lessons thoroughly. That word thoroughly. because it's like holding the darkness up to the light, same kind of thing. And there needs to be that room here, and there is. But just that there is that room for that kind of freedom, because people need to be able to not only make mistakes, but also to grow at their own pace. Swami uses this interesting explanation where he said, people need to be able to grow at their own pace. They can't go faster. He said, some people need a cane, other people need a mountain pick. You know, but it doesn't matter, because what we're looking at, it's all equal. We're all children of light, we're all souls, we're all here on this path, and we just need to not look at what's happening for somebody next door, but just really take time to feel your own energy. Who am I? Who am I? And what is my next step? And that's why Master said seclusion is the price of greatness, and seclusion being very, very important. Take that time in some way to get to know yourself and to really understand, what's my next step? Everybody else may look like they're speeding along, but some people just move fast, doesn't mean they're getting anywhere. But just tune into that, what your next step is. It's beautiful. When I was reading The Path again in the last couple of days, I just thought, what an incredible, amazing gift we've been given with Master's life, Yogananda's life, and with Swami's life with us. It's just unbelievably blessed. And so, anyway, many blessings to all of you.
This is a story, this is a song that Swami Kriyananda wrote based on a story that Yogananda would tell. Is that right?
Some proclaim all men are sinners, can't escape the devil's might. How their interest must intrigue him, they won't let him out of sight. What we need is light, for we can't drive out the darkness, talking sin, talking sin. No, we can't drive out the devil, talking sin. Some of us were taught the slogan, social evils must be slain. But can anger drive out sorrow? How can passion conquer pain? What we need is light, for we can't drive out the darkness while we hate, while we hate. No, we can't drive out the devil while we hate. Brother, have you ever wondered why the darkness lingers on? If we wanted to see the sunrise, let us turn and face the dawn. What we need is light, for we'll only best the darkness when we love, when we love. Yes, we'll only best the devil when we